Okay, well, thank you, Neil, for that great introduction. Yeah, that's basically me. I really enjoy and I'm passionate about helping people to find a career with passion and purpose. So that's what today's session is. Obviously, career change is a big topic, and I'm not going to sit here and say that you're going to be able to change career after this 30-minute session, but I'm definitely going to give you some things to go away with, some practical things that you can put into place today and actually help you to think about your career differently. And make some steps towards kind of thinking about what you want to do, how you can kind of do that in a systematic way, and then how you can actually put some of those things into practice, and take that forward. So yeah, the session is how to change career and find a job with passion and purpose. So basically what we're going to be covering today is I'd like for you can type in the look at that at the end, where you are in terms of your career now. So how do you feel about your career? Are you happy? Are you thinking of changing? Are you partway through that change? So we're going to do a bit of a career audit. So that'll help you as well to kind of understand where you are in terms of your career. So are you ready to change career? Is it something that you are thinking about in the future? Also, go along with that, when we think about making any kind of change in our life, obviously there's going to be some kind of fears and things that come up for us that kind of make us feel that change is possible. That change isn't easy. It's not impossible, but there's going to be some things, some bumps in the road that come up for you. So to work through all of that and help you to discover what is kind of holding you back and how you can kind of overcome those things. Then I'm going to get to the crux of the whole session, which is how do you actually find out what you want to do? How do you figure those things out? So it's not something that we're really taught at school. It's something that we kind of develop as we go on. And there's a lot of pressure. I'll give you some kinds of hints and tips for you to be able to do that. And then also, the last point we're going to be looking at is how you actually transition successful career area. And successful is kind of the word here, really, because it's not just about getting another job tomorrow and out of the frying pan into the fire. It's about actually taking your time to think about what you want, testing that out, see what's out there, and then take steps to kind of make that happen, rather than just, oh, I hate my job, I need to get out, I need to do something different tomorrow. So it's going to be a really interactive session. So if I can ask you to grab a paper and a pen so you can make some notes as we go through. I am going to be giving you some tasks and activities as we go through, but obviously I'm not expecting you to complete those now because we don't really have the time today. So I suggest that you maybe make a few notes now and then come back to the recording later, if that's okay. And feel free to type any questions as we go through and I'll answer them at the end. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so I thought it'd be quite a good thing for us to do today, as I said, to see where you are in terms of your career at the moment. So where are you now? So whenever you think about changing job and something different, there's obviously reasons behind that. So are you aware of what the reasons are? Do you know when you started to feel like this? Is it related to one particular thing or a particular person maybe? So today's about reflection as well, and to think about, what is it that you want out of your career? Why is it that you want to change career? Where are you in terms of your career, really? So I'm just going to talk you through the stages of change cycle here, which we have from Prochaska. So top left-hand corner, we've got pre-contemplation. So this is when you are in a job and you're bobbing along quite nicely. Everything's okay. There may be a few things that you're not happy with, but you're certainly not at this point thinking about making a change. Potentially, you could even be in denial. So if it's something that you've been feeling for a while, you may think, well, I'm not happy, but I'm not really ready to do anything about it. So you don't do anything about it. Then time goes on, maybe things start becoming more sort of aware to you. You're aware that the problem exists. You go into work every day and things just don't really feel right, really. And maybe you've been working in that industry for a few years and it's something that you're not really that passionate about it now. And you're looking around at your colleagues and you're thinking, everyone seems really happy and passionate about this, but I'm just not there really. But again, you're not really thinking about doing anything about it. It's just there. It's just becoming into your awareness. Changes get stuck in this contemplation phase. So a lot of the times when I speak to people who are unhappy in their career, they could have been thinking about this for years. Sometimes it's months, but sometimes it's years, and they can be in this kind of to and then fro-in stage. So if that's you, where you're like, should I stay? Should I go? Is the grass greener? You could be stuck in the contemplation stage. So then what happens is, as time goes on, so maybe you feel like this for 3 months, 6 months, maybe 12 months, and you realize that the situation's not getting any better, and you think, I need to do something about this now. You know, it's really getting to me. It's not something that's really going away. And at that point, you do think, I'm going to go for it. I'm ready to take the plunge, and I'm going to take some action. So at this stage, you may, what else is out there? So you're having a sneaky little look. You're putting the feelers out there. You're doing a bit of research just to see what's out there. But you're not really taking much action at this point. You're just seeing what's out there. But then comes the tipping point where you just literally can't take it anymore. You've been in this job and everything's just really annoying you. Every morning you wake up and you hate what you're doing. So that sort of job search and tentative action actually turns into hard action. It's like, no, come on, I'm doing this now. So then you may start talking to family and friends about it. You start actively job it, look at your CV, or you might even hire a coach at this point, because you've decided enough is enough. I'm not doing this anymore. I know I'm worth more. I know I want to do something different. This is when you do actually start taking action. So in this part, you may actually find a job, and then we move into the maintenance phase, which is you kind of and growing and moving forward with that. Or it may be that you are taking action and you're actively job searching, you're having interviews, which is why you may fall into the kind of danger zone of maintenance and relapse. Go for a few job interviews and you don't get them, or you're not getting anywhere with applications. There is that kind of danger to kind of fall back into old ways and your old kind of comfort zone, and you may be tempted to kind of go back to, oh well, you know, maybe it's not that bad, the salary's okay, you know, it's easy to get to, and you know deep down are not enough for you now, because you've been to and fro, you've been in the contemplation stage for quite a while. So you don't want to get into that danger zone, really. And I think the point is that if you don't make a decision and you don't take action, then you won't move forward. It's as simple as that. You'll just stay in this to and fro, and that is exhausting. Believe me, I've been there. So if you are there, I understand. So the way to kind of keep active and keep kind of on the kind of task that you need to do and keep motivated is to kind of bring a third party in, maybe. So you could maybe tell, you know, talk to a friend, and you could be each other's accountability partner, or you could work with a coach. So just let me know in the comments where you are on that kind of cycle of change, really. And if you are stuck in the contemplation, hopefully today, you know, this is going to help you to get out of that mode, and you're going to be into the action mode, and you'll be ready to move forward. Okay, so question for everyone that's watching today. So I guess that if you're watching the session, you are thinking about changing career, or maybe you're just seeing what this is about. But I always ask my clients this question, and whenever I do anything like this, and I always say, you know, what to do. People look at me and they're like, Lola, if I knew what I wanted to do, I wouldn't be either having coaching or ending this session. But for me, it's an important question, because what happens in life generally is that we might start off with an idea, a desire or a passion, or, you know, something that we want to do. And that may or may not happen for a number of reasons. And if it doesn't happen, it could be that you end up doing something else, and that's fine. And you fall in, and 20 years later, you're like, I'm not really happy now, and I wish I'd taken this path, and I wish I'd done that. Or as you go through the stage of contemplation, thinking about changing career, you might even think about, you know, ideas, or you might be inspired by something, or you might see someone doing something that you're interested in. So when I ask you this question, I want you to really reflect on that. And it's a simple question, but if somebody says to you, what do you want to do? Straight away, something, and I want you to write that down now. So that's your first task. So it's to write down any ideas that come to mind when I ask you that question. I want you to not worry about how it's going to happen. Don't worry about thinking too big. I just want you to set them free and put them on paper, because these are some of the initial ideas and the kinds of sparks that are going to come to you. And, you know, maybe they're not something that you want to actually turn into a career. It could just be a hobby, but we need to investigate them. Believe me, I've done this so many times with clients, and we've left some long lost desires that they wanted from 10 years ago. And they're actually, you know, they've gone on to do a to get into that and they've changed career. So these things are important because often we'll talk to our friends and our family and, you know, we feel a bit stupid sometimes. We feel a bit like, oh, I'm not really going to say that because it's probably not going to happen, or I don't think that that's possible. And all these doubts and sort of negative thoughts come up, but this is a safe environment here. No one's going to see what you're writing. You can keep that to yourself. So just set them free. Okay, so as you write those things down that have come to you when I've asked you that question, it'll have a whole host of kinds of ideas, hopefully. Don't worry at this stage if you don't have anything. As I say, I want you to come back to this session and reflect on it. But when you write those things down, I want you to reflect on, was there any resistance coming up for you, any kind of negativity, which is absolutely normal. So as I said, talk about change. It's not something that's just going to happen overnight. And it shouldn't either. You know, changing career is a big thing in one's life, so we shouldn't just, you know, take it lightly. So, but there will be naturally things, your mind will naturally go to that sort of negative bias. So you write something down and you think, oh, I can't do it. What are those things that come up for you? So we're talking here about barriers, basically. So things that hold you back from doing the things that you really want to do. And you'll know if you want to do it because it comes up, because every single day when you wake up in the morning, that's the first thing. When you have any kind of downtime, if you're not distracted yourself from on the phone or watching a film or something, then these are the things that come through to yourself. Because as I said, it's only us here today. You're not sharing it with anybody. Just write it down on the paper. And I just want you to get really clear on your motivations and what's going on under the surface, because no one's going to judge you. And once we've looked at those things and we've seen what those barriers are, some of those barriers could be, you know, thoughts that we have. So it could be, oh, I'm too old, or you know, I'm not going to be able to afford it, or it's going to take too long, or whatever it is. Some of them are real barriers. So if it's a financial barrier, then obviously you might need to take advice or do extra research. It's something that's sort of a mental barrier, then, you know, there's things that we can do to get around. So I'm going to show you in a minute a bit of a handy tip of how we can kind of eradicate those barriers. As we're kind of talking here today, obviously this is a big subject. As I said, you know, it's not something that we can just tackle in half an hour. Obviously there's more support available if you need it. So second task of the session is to write down anything that kind of comes to mind when you write down your what you want to do answers. So do you feel worried or anxious or confused or any kinds of doubts? As I said, it could be, you know, I'm too old, or I can't do it. It's, you know, it's going to take too long. What will people think of me? These things which are completely normal. Just write them down. Then what I want you to do is, and potentially you'll want to revisit this task, is to have a look at that list and drill down to the next layer and think about what's underneath those thoughts and where they're coming from. So what we want to do is we want to see if it's a real barrier. Is it something that's real, like a financial barrier or a health problem or anything like that, which is actually stopping you and preventing you from moving forward? Or is it something that's more kind of a mental barrier that you don't actually have evidence of? So here as to whether these are real barriers or things that you have just, well, let's just be honest here. We all invent these things in our minds. I do it as well. So let's just get everything out onto the paper. And then we can kind of tackle them. So we can face them head on. We can say, okay, it's a financial barrier or a health problem, or see what we need to do practically to get around that, or whatever it is. So I'm going to take one of the kinds of more popular ones that I come up when I'm working with clients or when people come to me. So I work with mid-career professionals who obviously are unhappy with what they want to do. So sometimes, quite often, they come to me and they say, I really want to change career, or I really want to do this thing, but I think I've left it too late. You know, I'm too old now. There's no chance for me now. And obviously, you know, we all feel those things. I get those feelings and doubts sometimes, but it's about doing things anyway, you know, the fear, and do it anyway. So what I want you to do to try and banish these barriers, the evidence as to is this real or is this invented? Is this something I can combat, or is it something that I'm going to have to, it's there, it's a block, it's not moving. I'm going to have to move around it to get to where I want to get to. So for example, if you say, I'm too old, what evidence do you have that that statement is true or false? So think about what you want to do. Is there anyone at network or extended network who's doing the job that you want to do and they're the same age as you? Okay. Or is there someone within your network who has made the change around about the same age as you have? So I want you to keep looking for the evidence. It could be evidence that this is a real barrier and we can't get around it. That's fine. In which case, we need to see how we can get around it. But if it's just something that you perceive yourself or you've put this onto yourself, then maybe it's something that we can kind of move forward on and we can change it. We can turn it on its head. So for example, this really people back when they're looking for work, obviously, and they're trying to get into a new sector and they think I'm too old, it's only for young people. So what we want to do is once we've kind of come to terms with that barrier may not be something that is going to hold us back. It's going to be there. We may still feel it, but we're still going to go for the things that we want anyway. So what I want you to do is to focus on you around that. So let's just say you are too old. So being too old means that you have quite a number of years working either in the sector that you want to go for, or if it's a career change, obviously there's transferable skills that we would need to look at. But there's a lot to be said for being a more mature candidate. So obviously in the ecosystem of a company that they're going to need all different types of levels of people. So we do need those entry level junior positions, but we do need other more experienced people. So there's room for everyone. You're able to tap into what the value is that you bring, and you're able to kind of repackage yourself and present yourself to an employer kind of positive, then that's what you need to do. That's how you can overcome this for yourself. So you demonstrate, the years that you've had doing this thing, the skills that you've gained, and also just experience and just knowledge of knowing exactly how things go in that industry, or how, if there's a problem that you can solve it. And also the last point there that I've put is about closed-minded employers. So I do a lot of work with my clients around finding the kind of finding employers with the same values as you. So what are your values and what are the values that you want in an employer? You don't want to work for a closed-minded employer who doesn't value, the kind of value in an older candidate. If that's not what they're looking for, then that's not the employer for you. So I did say this is quite a big topic and we could talk about this for days on end, but these are just some kind of tasters just to get you thinking. So challenge that barrier, look at the evidence, and then let's see how we can get around it and look at the positives of it. Okay. So moving on to the how do you find what you enjoy in the job? How do you find that passion and purpose? So again, this is this is not something like a tick box exercise that we're just going to do and move on from. This takes a bit of introspection and reflection. But changing career is not just about I like dogs, I'm going to be a vet. It's not as simple as that, obviously. But these things, likes and these desires and these passions and these kinds of desires to do something different, they kind of shine a light and kind of highlight the things that we do enjoy. So if you have kind of anything that motivates you or inspires you, then that's a kind of key and a bit of a kind of who you are and what motivates you. Because often in a job, we have to let's be honest, change ourselves and mold ourselves to fit into, a box which is created by employers, and which is fine to a certain extent, but a lot of these passions get lost along the way. And when you come to the point where you're stuck, it's difficult to read these things because people don't really give you the opportunity to do it. So here's your opportunity today to set these things free. Task coming up in a minute that inspires us. We can look at our current job or our past work history. You can look at voluntary work or any education or courses or hobbies you've done, just anything really where you've had an interaction or you've physically done something. And we're going to be using the data that we've got, that we've built up so far throughout your career. So if you're not currently in work, then you can have a look at, past work experience that you've got, or if you've never had a job and this is the first steps into work, then obviously you can tap into any other kinds of activities that you've done. So if after you've done this task, or when you do this task, you feel like, oh, Lola, like I just don't like anything. I hate absolutely everything about my job. I've never liked anything, which is possible sometimes. It might be that you're kind of dealing with a stagnant pool of information. So what I mean by that is that things have got a little bit stale, and maybe you just haven't freshened things up in a while. So in that case, you might need to, because we can't always solve a career change by looking backwards. Sometimes we need to look forwards, and we need to open ourselves up to new experience, new possibilities, and kind of trying ourselves on for size in different situations and scenarios. So it is about pushing yourself and putting yourself in uncomfortable kinds of situations. So maybe you need to take a course, maybe you need to do some voluntary work, take up a new hobby, just to push yourself out there and just see how you fare in different situations and what you enjoy. Okay, so first part of this task is to write down the last 3 jobs that you've had. So job title and company. So again, obviously, if you're unemployed, then your last job. If you haven't worked, then obviously voluntary work or any projects that you've worked on. Then I want you to write down all of the tasks, meetings or interactions that you have sort of in an average week. So you can look on your CV if you need to, if you kind of to refresh your memory. Or if you've got like a calendar or a diary that you use, just have a look back over the last week or 2 or even month and write down all of the tasks. So it could be a weekly sales meeting, or, presentation to the board, or creating, presentations, whatever it is that you do in your job, just write them down. And then what I want you to do is to rate them from 1 to 10. Okay, so 1 is that you absolutely hate the task and you never want to do it again. And 10 is that you absolutely love it. Okay, so as I say, you're probably going to have to revisit this task, so don't worry about scribbling it down now. So write down all of your tasks, and then I want you to take it to the next level. So the example that we've got there is that you have put down that you meet suppliers. So you put meeting suppliers and you've rated that an 8. And, 8's pretty high, isn't it? And then I want you to take a step back and think, why do I like meeting with suppliers so much? Why have I given that an 8? Okay, so I actually love going to this particular supplier. We get on really well. We've developed a really good relationship. I've helped them out with so many things, and, they seem happy with me. And I actually love negotiating. I love that kind of negotiation that we've done. And, I've helped them to get some good deals, and I love that bit of it. And then you might write something down like cold calling, and you've given that a 1. So cold calling, you absolutely hate. Oh, you hate it when you have to do it and you just don't want to do it. So again, why is it? Why don't you like doing that task so much? So reflecting on that, you might say, well, okay, well, I don't like it because I just feel so inauthentic. It just isn't me at all. So work through the list, think about what you have been doing, and then rate it, and then analyze and kind of explain that rating. So as you go through these tasks, you're going to be becoming a lot more aware about what it is that you do, because 1, we forget what we do most of the time. 2, we just don't stop and smell the roses very often, do we, and think why we like things and why we don't like them. So we're kind of building up a picture. So it's almost like we're doing a jigsaw puzzle here, and we're putting the pieces together. Okay, so the next part of this task is to actually think about the skills and the things that we're good at. So not only do we want to find the things that we enjoy, but we also want to find the things that we're good at. And then again, this is more pieces to the puzzle. So have a look down your list and highlight or put a star next to any tasks that you have rated 6 or above. Okay, so anything 6 or above, probably the things that we quite enjoy doing. Anything below that, we don't really want to see much in our job. So for example, meeting with suppliers, we've given that an 8, so that's going on the list. Then I want you to break it down into the skills that you've used. So any task or any activity that we do has a number of skills attached to it. We probably don't think about them, we just do it without thinking. So with this one, with meeting with suppliers, it could be, that you've time management skills because you've had to book them in your diary, you've used the computer to look them up on the system, or communication skills, negotiation skills, relationship management skills. Okay, so they're just some of the skills that we use when we're doing that one activity. What we want to do now is we want to reflect on, do I enjoy using those skills? If yes, then we keep them on the list. If no, then we eliminate them. And when have we used those skills to get a good result? Okay, so this is kind of looking forward as well, because you can use all of this information when you go for interviews or do your CV. So let's think about negotiation skills. So we like negotiation skills, don't we? So we reflect on a time when we've used that skill and we think, okay, so there's that one plumbing supplier that I go to every month and I've really enjoyed kind of working with them. And I've actually helped the company save, £5,000 a year or whatever it is through combining some services or whatever it is. So you've talked about the skill that you enjoy using, when you've used that skill and the result that you've got from it. So we're already building up a really good picture of what it is that we enjoy doing, what we're good at, what's unique about us. And you know that you're good at it because you've got that result. So have a little go at doing this, kind of reflect. It may take an hour or so to reflect on all of this really and get quite close to what it is that you enjoy doing. Okay, so finally, we're going to look at how we bring everything together. So obviously, if I was working with you one-to-one, we'd be doing this together and I'd be taking you through the steps and I'd be able to sort of challenge your thinking around all of this. But so doing it alone can be a bit tricky, but obviously it is completely possible. So how do we get from where you are now to where you want to be? So once you've kind of brought everything together, hopefully you'll begin to see some career ideas kind of emerging. So the cream's going to rise to the top. You're going to have this list of things that you enjoy doing, that you're good at. Can you bring all those things together? And does it look like it's going in a particular career direction? Could you put a job title to it? So don't worry if you can't, but basically now you're going to go on a fact-finding mission. So it's about, it's going to take a bit of work to do this. It's not an overnight thing. So what gaps do you have in your knowledge and how can you fill those gaps? And what do you need to do to get to where you want to be? So how can you do that? So you use your network. So is there anyone in your immediate network that either does that job or is working in that industry or in that company? Or could you connect with someone on LinkedIn? Obviously, LinkedIn, we know, is just the best resource ever for this. So you can connect with people and you can ask them for what's called an informational interview and just say, I'm really interested in, I noticed that you work at this company or you're doing this job. I'd be really interested to hear your kinds of perspective on it. Could you free up 10 minutes just to talk to me? I've got a couple of questions for you. And, not everyone will go for that, but I would say like 80% of people are going to go for that. I know that I would if someone came to me and asked me those questions. So that's one part of it, actually finding out what it's like to do that job. The other parts of it are, the practical things. So when you have a look at job adverts or job descriptions for those particular jobs or industries, are there any sort of industry specific qualifications that you have to have? So fair enough, you've got to have this certificate. It's going to take you a year to get it. You're probably going to have to do that. So it's about how badly you want to have that job, really. Or, do you have to relocate to do that job? Again, if that particular industry isn't where you live and you might need to move to another country even, are you prepared to do that? So just start building up these things really and trying to plug the gaps where we don't have information for that. And then once you've got all of that, bring it back, kind of review everything that you've kind of pulled together and think, okay, this is what I want to do. I know what I want to do. I've actually shadowed someone maybe that's doing that job. I know how it goes. I know that I need to study. I'm going to do it. And then you can make a plan. It sounds very easy, this, but obviously doing it alone can be quite difficult. So as I said, if you can get an accountability partner or a coach to help you through this transition, then that's going to be, it's going to get you to that point a lot quicker. So once you have the plan, then you can get out of your contemplation phase, you can get into the taking action and you can keep going. And the sky really is the limit. So I hope that you've enjoyed the session today. I know it's a big topic, really, career change. And, I hope I haven't overwhelmed you too much, but I wanted to kind of give you a taster of how it could be if you are thinking about having a career change. And also you've got some things there that you can actually put into place today. So I'll just leave you with the keep in touch slide there. So if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, please do. I'd love to connect with you. And let's go to the question and answer session.
That was fantastic, Lola. That was really, really insightful.
I'm just going to stop sharing my screen. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Hello again.
Hello.
That was really, really insightful. Again, I like the comments just going off, loving your session, loving this session, Lola, brilliant. So let's jump into the questions. Please, guys, use this opportunity to ask Lola any questions that you have about what you've just heard or anything else with regards to your job search. It's a rare occasion that this sort of quality and amount of coaches come on to give out their advice for free. So any questions you have, please shoot them down into the ask a question section. Okay, so let's just jump into it.
I'd also like to know as well, sorry Neil, I was just going to say, if anyone, that first slide I had the stages of change, if anyone could kind of say where they're up to in their career change, if anyone's kind of in that contemplation stage or ready to take action, that'd be good to know.
Fantastic, brilliant. Okay, so first question, how do you get over the fact that the new sector you want to join already has a pool of experienced people doing the rounds? How do you motivate yourself playing catch up with those people? Great question from Sabi.
Yeah, it's a really, really good question. Obviously, really, really pertinent. So if it's something completely removed from what you've been doing, then not going to lie, it's not going to happen overnight. It's a going back again to how much do you really want to do that? How motivated are you to do it? I wanted to be a career coach 15 years ago, let's say. I've been a career coach for 12 years. So I was working in a back office function in business management, and it wasn't what I wanted to do. So I did my research, I found out what I needed. I looked at the job descriptions, as I was saying, what would they need and what did they need from me? And I actually did voluntary work. So I went to volunteer, helping people to, change career or with career advice, whatever it was. And that gave me the solid kind of work experience that I needed to transition into that job. So when I went for an interview, I could say that I had a lot of the transferable skills that obviously go across lots of different jobs, but I also had the recent hands-on experience of doing that job. So if you don't have any experience, and as I said, when you're going through the kind of exploration phase, and you have a lot of gaps and it's gleamingly obvious that you only have about 20% of what's being asked for, you may have to study, take a qualification, you may have to do some voluntary work, or it may be, if you get a professional to look at what you've been doing, you may be able to repackage and kind of sell yourself. But in terms of keeping motivated, it's about having that, we always talk about this North Star, so getting really clear about what it is that you want. Why do you want it? It's going back to that why. Why do you really want to do that? Write it down on a piece of paper, stick it on your fridge and look at it every single day and visualize yourself doing it. Things aren't easy, but it's possible. It's definitely possible.
Fantastic. And just to remind you, everyone who's listening, please use the ask a question function. It's much easier for us to make sure we are getting to all of your questions. I've seen a couple at the side, so I am going to just cover off a couple at the side as well after this, but please use the ask a question function. It makes it much easier for us to get to everyone, like I said. So next question, how do you cope with lack of experience as a requirement for a job, even when applying for internships? Is it still, it's still a requirement to have previous experience?
Well, if you're going for an internship, I guess it's from on the back of graduating or while you're kind of studying. And if you're at a good university, they should be prepping and priming you for that now. You should be doing, taking the year out. You should be doing the summer kind of internships. You should be volunteering and putting yourself forward for everything. If you know what you want to do and you know that you may be exposed in that area, you've got to literally think, what can I do to get the edge on somebody else? Because somebody else could have been doing that since they were 14 years old at the family company. So if you know that you're exposed in that area, you've got to make it your challenge to fill that gap.
Fantastic, brilliant. And that's hopefully that's answered your question there, Mary. We'll jump on to another one. Is there a list of speakers? Yes, there is a list of speakers. It's www.easterjobhunt.com, and that will take you to the list of speakers. Simple one. Okay, next one. I was in contemplation for a long time, then volunteered for redundancy in December. I left my role organization yesterday. Today, I'm on this awesome Easter job hunt opportunity, starting the journey and your practical advice. Okay, great. So I think Lola, you were asking about people's sort of situations, right?
Yeah, so that is a difficult one, going through redundancy. I know there's a few sessions that are going to be covering that topic, but redundancy is not the end, it's the beginning. And sometimes it gives you the kick to do something that you've always wanted to do. I know, there's those stages that you need to go through to come to terms with it, but hopefully today, with these sessions, it'll give you the time to reflect, pause, take a moment, think about what you want. Don't just jump in and do the knee-jerk kind of applying. Think about what you want.
I think that's a really good point. And I think almost everyone who's come on here so far has said that. Don't just immediately go out and start looking for something straight away that's exactly what you were doing before. Really take the time to have a think about it. Even if it's just a week, take that time, because it is, I've been made redundant before. And I'm sure a lot of people have on here, and it is just, what am I going to do for money? Or where's my next paycheck coming from? Because it's the sort of the fear of unknown, I think, more than anything else. But honestly, take the time to think, because I've seen too many times people sort of end up in a role that they don't like, and then they're looking again 2 months later. Obviously,
this is the thing.
Yeah.
This is the thing, isn't it? If you dive into that, I mean, there's the thing about taking a survival job. If you need to take that job in the supermarket to pay the bills, do that. But you don't want to just knee-jerk apply for something and then 3 months, 6 months later be like, oh, I've made a big mistake, because it's easier to look for a job when you have more time to dedicate to that. So yeah, definitely it's a difficult thing to go through, but it's not the end.
And that's something as well, right? When looking for a full-time job can be a full-time job in itself. You can put 10, 12 hours a day into searching for a job, but like you said, that sometimes you need to do that sort of that's go for that survival role. But if you've got the capacity to take the time, then yeah, definitely take it. Definitely take it. Fantastic. So we've got one from Steve Wakefield here. Looking for a career change following redundancy. I've decided I want to get into project management, connected with people doing the roles, researched and sat exams. Now it is just trying to get interviews. So far, no luck, and not sure what to do next. That's from Steve.
Okay, so I'm just going to read that again. So let me see. I've decided I want to get into project management. Okay, so I guess that you've been trying to apply for roles then, but you're just not getting through to the interview stage. I guess it would be about reviewing what it is that you, again, thinking about, what you want to do. Is it a particular industry or sector? Where can you see yourself fitted into that? Do you have the relevant skills, knowledge and experience? You've got the exams, but I don't know if you've got the kind of hands-on experience. So it was about, when I was talking about filling those gaps, just getting really honest with yourself. I always say for people, like, print off or download 5 to 10 job descriptions of your absolute dream job, and then highlight the things that they're asking for, and then just go through them systematically. Okay, so they're asking for this. Do I have it? Do I have this? A lot of the things are transferable, so you can repackage them. Some of them, it might be, you've got the qualification, but you just don't have that hands-on experience. If you're able to maybe go in at a lower level, maybe that's something else to think about. So just think about it. Think about the goal that you want to get to, and then reverse engineer it. What do I need to do, even just to get a foot in the door, really? So could you go in at a lower level potentially?
Fantastic. Brilliant. Okay, on to the next. So we've got the next question is, many recruiters and industries are being so selective currently and recruiting with specific industry experience only and similar sized business experience. A real barrier even when it's not a changing career. So any top tips to help with this? That's from Nicola.
Yeah, it's a really good one, because it's dog eat dog out there now, as we know. But the problem is that people don't take the time to think about what they want and what they've got to offer. So people are just firing off the CVs left, right, and centre and kind of clogging up the system. So don't just do that. You really need to get clear on what it is that you've got to offer. And you've got to demonstrate that, haven't you? So it's not just good enough to kind of say, I've done this and I've done that. So again, it's about backing that up with kind of numbers and figures and tangible outcomes. If you don't have the like-for-like experience, it may be that we can get around that. There's ways of kind of being creative and getting around it. It's not about lying. It's about taking what you've done and looking at the transferability of that thing. So if you want to go into project management, for example, you've not managed projects directly, but you have managed things from beginning to end, and there's been an outcome. Can you kind of repackage that? So I'd say maybe check in with a CV expert or somebody like that, or a recruiter, just to get that sort of helicopter view of what you've been doing, and see if, okay, maybe you don't have what they're asking for, and again, then it's back to basics. But if you do, but you're just not selling yourself properly, or you're not being imaginative and, thinking outside of the box and how you can present what you've done, then that might be the issue.
Yeah, I think really good points. I think we've got a few conversations later on with a couple of people who come from a recruitment background as well, who will tell you the benefit of actually working with some great recruiters if you can find the right ones for you, because they have their ear to the ground. You know, all they do day in, day out is speak to people from that industry. So yeah, fantastic. Really, really good advice. I hope that's helps, Nicola. So next question. From Gary, I'm on gardening leave, officially finishing end of April, looking to career change from travel industry into a new field. Fantastic. Fantastic. Anything you'd like to sort of point onto that? Or I know that you've just asked people to tell their situation, so we can just sort of...
Yeah, no, that's great. That's really interesting. I mean, obviously gardening leave means that it's kind of a positive situation, I hope, for you. So you've got time and you're still, you know, obviously getting paid, which is really good. So you've got some time on your side, really. So I hope that you, did you say you're going from travel into another industry? So I hope that you know what it is that you want to do. If you do, great, then it's action stations. It's all steam ahead to do that one. But again, just taking a step back, and I would say as well, while you're sort of fresh and you've just left the job or you're still in the job, write down the top 3 achievements that you've had in that job. So then when times get tough or when you need to talk about these things, you'll be able to look at them. So maybe your top 3 projects that you worked on and what the outcomes were. So when, you know, times do get tough when you're job searching, so you can bring out the list and be like, oh, I am good. I did actually do, you know, a lot of good in that job, and I did make those achievements. Because sometimes we forget, don't we? So get that now while you're still in there.
I think that's a really important point, because you should be writing down every project you finish, every achievement you've done as you're going through. Because if someone tries to ask you about projects you did 3 years ago, you're not going to remember the full details, right? But it could have been one of the best things you've created, but you've had to do so much stuff since that it just sort of is hard to remember. So get in the habit of writing down every achievement that you do, because that's going to really help.
I also love that that 360 view as well. So if you're still in contact with colleagues, ask them, you know, what is my biggest kind of skill? What would you say that I'm known for? And then you're thinking about personal branding then as well. You're like, oh, well, Gary, like you were really good on that project. I remember you were the only one that did X, Y, and Z. And it just helps you to understand yourself from an outsider's perspective.
I love that. I love that. Go and ask your colleagues, you know, what was I best known for? That's really powerful, really powerful. Fantastic. So I hope that's helped. On to Sanjay. You mentioned the need for recent hands-on experience. I have applied for roles, but did not have this recent experience only a few years back. How do you stay relevant on a continuous basis? Is it worthwhile taking the time out to study or get volunteered experience? How do you weigh up the return on investment time versus money?
Okay, I think what Neil was saying was really good about getting a good relationship with some recruiters who've got the ear to the ground, so they'll know, you know, are you kind of a little bit out of the kind of pool, the talent pool, or do you need to kind of do something else? If it's something, it really depends what the industry is really as well. You know, something, if you've not been working for 2 years, I don't know if that's your situation, that can not look so favourable on a CV, but at the moment, obviously, you know, there's going to be a lot of people without current work experience. So again, it's about those employers that are going to value you and your past experience. I would say that if you think you need to freshen things up again, it doesn't mean that you have to do some big expensive course. There's a lot of free things out there. Or you could even, while you're job searching, do voluntary work online. You can even do that now. So I'd just say to freshen things up again, if you think that you are a bit exposed. One, it's about repackaging yourself and presenting yourself. So getting someone to help you with that. Or freshening things up with a bit of voluntary work and courses. There's a lot of free things out there. So I wouldn't necessarily say that you've got to go and study a degree or anything, but it's about understanding what your employer needs.
Fantastic. Hopefully that's helped, Sanjay. We've got another question here. Also, just in the comments there, Ian Woods, congratulations. Ian's said he's been worked with 60 regional recruiters with the job search support, and he's secured a role. So congratulations, Ian.
Well done.
Well done. Yeah, congratulations.
Loving the wins today.
Yeah, I love anyone who's got those sort of stories. Yeah, please put them in there, and we'll give you a quick shout out. Congratulations. Okay, so let's take another question. So I was made redundant from a retail. This is from Chloe. I was made redundant from a retail role in February, and I'm now looking into changing careers completely. I'm open to a few different roles though, and don't want to excuse the Easter pun, put all my eggs into one basket. Nice one, Chloe. Do you have any advice for someone open to multiple career options? Do you think I definitely need one type of role in mind? Great question.
Yeah, good one, Chloe. So you know you definitely don't want to do the retail, which is really good. So you know that you're ready to move on. If those three new ideas are completely different or completely removed from each other, then that is a bit trickier. But if they are things that could be kind of grouped together or are in a similar thing. So for example, if you were like teacher, trainer, mentor, maybe, you know, they're not completely removed from each other. I would say that you need to get clear on what it is that you want to do. So why, I mean, if it's something that's completely different, what are the three things that you want to do? Could you have like a, you know, you can have a portfolio career. You don't just have to have one kind of career area. You can have, you know, you can work part-time doing one thing, Monday to Wednesday, and then, you know, Thursday and Friday, you do something else. That's completely fine. But when it comes to personal branding and presenting yourself on places like LinkedIn and CVs, a CV potentially going to have 2 or 3 different ones if they are very different. And that's fine because that just reflects your different facets of you. You know, we're not just one thing, one trick pony. LinkedIn, you'd have to again kind of tell the story around that really, because you don't want it to look a bit random while you're doing all these things. You want to talk about the story as to why this is what you want to do. So I would suggest getting a bit of help with that to kind of present your story. But not a problem wanting to do different things at all. I'm all for it. But you just have to be clear on what it is that you want to do and know that, you know, you may have to have 2 CVs or 3 CVs. I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with having, you know, different CVs for different roles, and going and approaching those. What I would do if I was you, Chloe, is I'd go and speak to people in those different industries you want to work at, and go and say, look, I'm trying to decide between 2 or 3 different industries right now. Go on LinkedIn, go and find some senior stakeholders, some managers, and in those roles, and say, hey, this is who I am. This is my skill set. Do you think this is right for me? Because they're going to know, right, that they do that role, and go and speak to people in those different industries, then find out, you know, and then by the end of that, you probably have a better idea. You might speak to one person and they go, Chloe, this is what it's like. And you go, I really don't want to do that. So yeah, go and speak to those people. People who are doing the role that you're looking to do are always going to be the best people to get advice from.
Yeah, that is so good, isn't it? Rather than just sitting there wondering, just speak to someone who's actually doing it. And that 10-minute conversation could just be a game changer.
Yeah, just find out. Yeah, just find out. Fantastic. Okay, so let's take a couple more questions. There's one for me here. That's nice. Question for Neil. Is there an insight on regional job hunting opportunities and success? I'm interested to know if some areas of the UK are tougher to get a job in. Not necessarily. No, it depends on your job, your industry, everything. There's no, I wouldn't start looking in a particular area over others. I'd focus on the role that you want. I'd focus on the industry you're looking to work in and the goals that you have in mind. And then I'd work backwards from there. If it turns out that there's more of those roles in Bristol than London, then perfect. Then you focus on Bristol. But there's no one size fits all answer to that, unfortunately, Sanjay. So it would just be purely on what you're looking for and do your research and work backwards. Fantastic. We've got a couple of questions that have come through in the comments, which I don't want to miss out on. But please do use the ask a question function. So we've got time for one more question, I think, here. I have 15 years of experience in total, but I made a role change as a product owner within the company last year. Now trying to find a job outside. Giving interviews, but somehow not able to clear the final rounds. The hiring manager gets impressed, written tests go well, but when it comes to the interviews with department heads, etc., it doesn't go well, presumably. Is it something I'm not able to get through? What am I doing wrong?
Oof, it's a big one. It's a big one, isn't it, really? Because some of these interview processes, you know, could like 4 or 5 rounds, and it's difficult to know, isn't it? And sometimes it's about what the employer's looking for, and sometimes they set out thinking they want one thing, and then somebody comes in and they just have something different, and they go in a different direction. I'd say to you that if you feel that you're given a good interview performance, then that's good. But I don't know if you maybe need or would like some interview coaching. Maybe that would be helpful, because it is very competitive now. And I think that those that get hired, it's not just about you know, talking a good talk. Sometimes it just comes down to personality and fit for those people. But if you're not getting through time and time again, it could be your interview performance. So maybe you need to you know, get clear on how you can actually present that into a way that's going to be received by them. So you really need to do some research about that employer and understand what they're looking for, so that you can be the one to solve their problems and fill that gap, rather than just sort of, obviously you're doing well, but it's not, you know, you need to edge up on that really. You need to be like, you know, I've noticed on your website, or I saw that your last project was blah, blah, blah. This is something that I've been doing. And I know that I can, you know, save you £15,000 or whatever, because in my last company, I was doing whatever. So I think you need to really, this is why it's quality over quantity, tune in to what that employer is asking for and have that kind of consultancy mindset where, you know, you are basically the answer to their problems.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think that's really good advice all around. Thank you so much for your time, Lola. How can people find you, and what's the best way of them contacting you?
I'd say LinkedIn. I mean, luckily I have an unusual name, so if you look for Lola Brocklesby on LinkedIn, I am the only one. And then you can find me at vivacareercoaching.com and Viva Career Coaching at Viva Career Coaching on Instagram as well. But LinkedIn is my main home.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So that was super insightful. It was really, really interesting to hear. I'm having a great time. Going.
Yeah, you're going to be the best in the world.
I'm going to be the best. Yeah, I'm going to take all of your advice, and I'm just going to put it all together.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really, really having a fantastic time listening to everything that people have to say. There's some fantastic advice and tips, and great questions as well. Keep those questions coming.
Yeah, really.
So thank you so much, Lola. Please go and
you,
connect with Lola on LinkedIn. And we'll be up next with Penny Delve, who will be talking about how to create and maintain a positive mindset, change your thinking, change your outcome. Love that title. Brilliant. All right. Thank you so much, Lola.
Okay, thank you, Neil. Bye, everyone.
Bye.